Nathan, I think what we have here is a very special, very luxurious, and very, very powerful SUV.
That's right, guys. We're talking about the possible future Cadillac Escalade V, or something along those lines.
Yes, so here's what happened. Roman was in the mountains here in Colorado, near Dillon, and he actually captured this prototype. And we can roll this video directly from Roman, actually doing a little bit of prototype hunting in the Rocky Mountains. And then we'll tell you what we think might be under the hood, because it's very, very special.
Roll the footage.
Hey guys, I'm doing a little bit of high altitude prototype hunting, and I just came across what I think is a GM vehicle. It's right there. Let's take a look at it. Nice and slow. Could be the next version of the Escalade or the Tahoe, or maybe the Suburban. The rumor is that there's a hybrid coming, but I think it's definitely a GM. And you can kind of take a look at it. Definitely a big exhaust, so hard to say what engine is hiding under there. But there he goes. If you can follow him a little bit, you can get a better look at him. I know it's a GM because I saw the GM vehicles parked next to each other, and so big exhaust coming out the back. You can kind of take a look underneath at the suspension. That is definitely interesting. Certainly a little different. Those exhaust pipes are pretty cool. Michigan plates, so that gives you a hint that it's definitely a prototype that's more likely to be one of the big three. But I'm just fascinated by that. That is definitely unique. So I don't know what's hiding under there, but yeah, there you have it. Another vehicle spotted out here. Let's see if we can get next to him and get maybe a closer look. And maybe you could let me know in the comments below what you think is hiding under there, because I'm a little mystified myself. There he goes.
Boom! Did you see that? Did you see those quad exhaust pipes?
Big one, and real ones. How many times have people put out fake ones? So this looks real, and if you looked really closely at the rear end, there's a lot of stuff going on that we can talk about.
Yeah, and first of all, let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail, because of course Roman, it was actually trying to catch up to it and not actually analyze everything.
Yeah, he was driving our Mini with manual transmission. So here he is trying to shift and get this camera going and drive at the same time. And multitasking isn't easy for anybody. And poor Roman, he's got to keep that hair perfect while he's doing all that at the same time.
So there you have it. This is a regular wheelbase Escalade. And this is what surprises me, because the brand new generation of the Escalade has just come out within the last year.
That's correct.
And now we see something fully camouflaged, which to me means, they're changing some of the body panels, maybe massaging the way it looks, doing different style. But we can kind of tell it's a Cadillac because the little center caps on the wheels are covered in tape, but you can kind of see the Cadillac logo.
It's pretty obvious, guys. It's pretty obvious. And on top of that, there are a few other things. The Escalade's actual shape still kind of pokes through the entire exterior covering that we have here. It doesn't look like a GMC. It doesn't look like a Chevy. This does look like an Escalade wearing cladding.
Yeah, indeed. And this is the regular wheelbase one. They also have the ESV, which is kind of a suburban-sized, longer wheelbase.
Yeah, much bigger.
And of course, we know this. So here, there's several other outlets have been, collective intelligence, right? If we can gather everything we know, because of course Cadillac hasn't announced this yet.
Right.
Right? If we can collect everything we know, we think this could have a very massive and powerful engine and will be a 2023 model.
Yeah, so all of this is speculation, but it is based on a pool of information that we've got from a variety of different sources. So if you take that and you add a little bit of logic to it, I think we can come up with some information that's really close.
Yeah, so here it is. Here's Roman right next to it. And once again, we can see a little bit of a Cadillac logo maybe in the center cap. And unfortunately, we don't get a full sound of this.
We get a little rumble at one point. If you look at his video at the very beginning of it, or near the beginning of it, it's pulling away. You can actually hear a little bit of that. It definitely has a rumble, but I suspect that this vehicle may have, similar to other GM products, a baffle system that actually allows for a louder exhaust. That's based on just stuff that they've done in the past.
So we think this is not an electric vehicle.
It's not electric.
No. So what I think GM is doing is actually, and you can kind of see in this rear shot, actual mufflers behind the pipes. So this is not like tacked on to the bumper to make it seem like it's an exhaust system.
Right, and so many automakers right now are actually putting on fake exhausts just to make them look powerful. In this case, you can plainly see this is a real exhaust system, a proper sporty exhaust system. And what's going on with the rear end? That rear suspension looks interesting.
Yeah. It's independent rear suspension. Magnetic ride, of course, is rumored once again.
That makes total sense.
Adjustable shocks.
Yep.
But dude, the rumor says that this will be a 6.2-liter supercharged LT4 engine. So this is not a Blackwing, by the way. So if you guys are thinking about their sedans, originally the CT6, the large sedan, then the CT5 Blackwing.
CT4.
So this is not that V8, but this is a V8. It is supercharged. What the power will be? Well, the rumor says it around 650. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It won't make it the most powerful SUV out there, but if that number sticks, it will be the most powerful full-size SUV or the most powerful luxury SUV. And Cadillac's probably going to go with some of that branding.
Yeah, so, Cadillac is maybe appealing to some of a traditional luxury buyer, right? Because they do have the GMC Hummer SUV also coming within the next 2 to 3 years. That'll be all electric.
That's right.
And more off-road capable, right? This is maybe more for the street. This is for the big city, rolling up to that, country club or, your next business meeting in this big beast. So 650 horsepower kind of makes sense. It's a huge amount of power. Right now, the brand new Grand Wagoneer just came out with a 6.4-liter Hemi with about 471 horsepower. We know the Dodge Durango Hellcat is there with 710 horsepower.
Which is currently the most powerful in its class, and it's plainly the most powerful SUV out there, period.
Yeah, at least that burns true gasoline, right? And then this thing, I think it's a it's a pretty smart move, because when the original Cadillac Escalade, we reviewed it here at the office. It's got a luxury interior, like no other.
Yeah, incredible.
Something like, 30 speakers in their system, the AKG system. Everything is wonderful. Night vision, all the features, all the technology. But then the standard 420 horsepower engine was just like the GMC and the Chevy.
Some people would call it adequate. Now, here is something that has been going on with the Cadillac online fan sites, Escalade fan sites, for years. They've been asking for an Escalade to have a V variant for years and years and years. What they thought in many cases was that the Blackwing engines would migrate over to the Escalade, which unfortunately Blackwing is now sort of, it's gone. These last few sedans that you're going to see, once they're done, they're done. General Motors is moving over to electricity. Fortunately, it sounds like that this answers the prayers of a lot of people out there, and it may have the same powertrain that's in the LT1 Camaro.
Or the ZL1. Yeah.
ZL1, LT1. Yeah. ZL1 Camaro. If that's the case, then we are talking about a bit of a torque monster. Obviously, they'll probably re-gear it, and it may not
truck tune it.
Right, and they'll truck tune it because this is a much heavier platform. With that being said, this setup, if you look at it, means that four-wheel independent suspension with a massive, powerful engine, adjustable suspension, an exhaust note that could be amazing, and most likely it'll have unique body panels. And that isn't rare for V-based vehicles. If you look at the current the new vehicles that are out there, they do have some unique body panels on them. And that goes all the way back to the original CTSV that came out years and years ago. They had some unique components on them as well that separated them from the regular vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And as we can see, another look at the suspension system right here. It is basically identical to their next generation, the current generation of suspension systems.
Right.
And you might be wondering what that little red port is. It could be a couple different things. I've seen, actually, on the side of the test vehicle, sometimes fuel drains to drain the fuel from the tanks. Sometimes there are computer ports or some other equipment ports.
That's right. A lot of these vehicles that we see testing in the Rockies have a bunch of information inside the vehicle and that goes outside the vehicle. Telemetry, the smog that they create or don't create, a variety of different things that have to be fed into various networks. And many of these vehicles do have ports that will go into them. There are fuel drains in some other ones. It really does depend on the vehicle and how it's being tested. The reason why this is being tested in Colorado could have to do with the fact that we do a lot of high elevation testing, which is for emissions, and during the winter, cold weather testing. That's not the case here.
No, the winter hasn't come yet.
Nope.
But this is very near the eye gauntlet, so we don't see them towing. But it doesn't mean that they won't tow. Or
can you go back to the page where it shows the rear end? I'm pretty sure this thing will be able to tow, but I'm curious to see if there's a hitch on there at all.
It's totally covered, dude. This bumper is covered. It's really hard to say.
Yeah.
There's a spare tire underneath, but current Escalades do have hitches. So
yeah, and
it
you
may.
would see it at this level, I think, if it were like the regular Escalades, because it does drop down a bit. So I don't think this particular test model has a hitch. But then again, I would imagine that a large portion of the people who are going to tow with something like this, which is built for sport to a certain degree, probably, they're probably not into towing. Now speaking of tow, look at the toe end of the rear end. You're going to notice that the rear wheels do taper in just a little bit. And I think that has to do with handling. This is going to be a vehicle that you can throw around a corner a lot faster than your standard Escalade.
Yeah, and I think, let's face it, big luxury SUVs are not going away, right?
Nope.
We see the latest 2022 Lincoln Navigator was just announced. That still has a twin-turbo V6.
Yeah.
Without any special power additions to it yet. At least yet, right?
Yet, yeah.
Then, of course, like I mentioned, the Grand Wagoneer is out. That's Stellantis' premium truck-based 3-row SUV with 6-digit price tags. I'm sure this Escalade V will have a 6-digit price tag easily.
Yeah, well, the regular
is.
The regular one comes in pretty damn high. So I'd imagine this is going to be much, much more expensive.
Totally. And of course, there's the German competitors as well, with their latest, X7 and the latest AMG GLS Mercedes.
Right, M brands and all that.
So there's a lot of action in this space because big luxury SUVs are still here.
They are. There's a massive thirst for these SUVs out there, or else they wouldn't build this. And I'm really hoping that General Motors keeps with their V8s for just a little bit longer because they sound like no other. And if this one is as good or as fast as we think it is, it may actually, despite the rumored horsepower, it may be as quick as something like a Dodge Durango with the Hellcat.
And we'll find out because we could drag race them.
Hell yeah.
Well, there you have it, guys. This story is, of course, on TFLtruck.com, as all the truck news and big SUV news is. And you can find Nathan on TFLcar.com, TFLoffroad.com, and every TFL.com, right?
Pretty much. Now, here's one final thing, guys. We want to hear your opinion about this vehicle. Is this something that you would spend your money on as opposed to perhaps the German competitors out there? And what do you think its capabilities will be? We'd love to hear your opinions.
As always, thank you.